As the NXL headed to Chicago for the 2020 Windy City Major, the two names haunting the rest of the Pro League were familiar to anyone who had been a fan of the game in the modern era. Edmonton Impact and Houston Heat, with their wins at the first two events, were on familiar ground. These two teams have always been on the tip of everyone's tongues when talking about the best teams in the world. Again, they had proved their supremacy early on in the season. Now the question was, could they stay at the top with all the strong squads like Dynasty, X Factor, and the Russians, legends in their own right, hot on their heels. Also, new teams were in the hunt for their own slice of paintball greatness. For those at the bottom of the standings, a scary situation awaited them if they could not pull out of their downward spiral. Relegation back down to the semi-pro division awaited the last place team at the end of the year. This event was the last chance to prove yourself before the World Cup.
These victories, light these guys on fire. Jesus' name we pray, man. Hey, hey, pick it up, boys. Right here, right now. 1 point at a time. Believe in your brother. Let's go.
1 point at a time, guys. Team of 1, 2, 3.
Team squad. Hey, believe in you, boys. Let's go.
A confusing and unprecedented situation confronted the teams on Sunday morning. Due to darkness, the prelims could not be finished on Saturday, so Sunday started off Impact vs Damage and Revo vs Level to figure out who moved on and who played who. Everyone in the Pro Division who had a chance to make Sunday showed up early to see what went down. Damage put up a big lead on Impact, and though they held on for a 1-point win, they didn't do enough, and they were eliminated yet again, taking another 11th place. Baltimore Revo skated through into the wildcard round, even though they dropped to a tough Columbus level. Revo was missing Frank Antetomaso and Steven O'Mara, two of its best players. And they also almost lost Snake veteran Dan Zaleski in their game against the Outlaws when he collided with Jason Stapula. Though Zaleski dislocated his shoulder, was slightly concussed, and put his front teeth completely through his bottom lip, he was stitched up and still playing on Sunday. Revo would need him. Revo did enough in the prelims with their win over Damage. The head-to-head victory on Friday ended up being the tie-breaking technicality. Revo would now fight against Edmonton Impact in the wildcard match.
Good shit, boys. Good shit, JC.
After winning the first event and taking second outside of Philly, Impact looked mortal in the prelims, going 2-2 and losing to both Level and Damage, and almost missing Sunday. The Revo vs Impact match would be an epic way to start a crazy day. Edmonton Impact was in unfamiliar territory. They never had to play for their tournament lives this early on. And through the first 3 points, they looked focused, cruising to a 3-0 lead, with a strong presence on the D side with Justin Cornell, and on the Snake side with Alex Goldman.
History of paintball, when teams go in with that skeleton squad, they tend to do better because, first of all, guys know that they need to step up, that sometimes don't, whether it's in big moments or just throughout the event, and they're getting more playing time. So I think them having a shorter roster helped them because it gave guys more spins than they usually would get if they had the other bodies there.
Revo crawled back slowly but surely mid-match, trading bodies on the break, and they pushed forward. First it was Mike Zupa in the Snake, with Matt Derula holding the line and winning gunfights right behind him. Chris Shear was a threat on the D side, and Thomas Mantoni and the battered but tenacious Dan Zaleski all stayed in the fight. It was a 1-point match with 4:50 left to play, the score 5-4. Off the break, the D side for both teams was decimated. Revo was up a body, and Dan Zaleski ran through the center to break things open. Thomas Mantoni running in to hit the buzzer to tie the game for the first time.
Comes Zaleski on the move, and he comes through and bunkers out Yakimek. No penalty, it's clean.
Alex Goldman then had an early kill in the next point, going gun dominant over the top of his spot to shoot a body at the inside tower, and then he got right into the 50 Snake yet again. But he was on the razor's edge. He pushed forward trying to bunker out Zupa, who was being watched by Derula. Goldman drew a major, and Derula finished out the point to take the lead.
That should be the decider here in this specific. It might be the decider in the match, Rich. You're right. As Derula comes down and blasts the last two.
When we brought 11 that tournament, I just thought guys weren't really getting into a groove, but we also didn't even really connect in the pit and talk about how did we just expose the team. You know, we were just always constantly trying to think about what's next, and try to be a step ahead of the other team, but we weren't really analyzing the moments.
Revo now had the lead with 2 minutes and 19 seconds to go. One more point, and they could finish off the #1 ranked team in the league. But Impact answered. The battle went down again on the Snake side between Zupa and Goldman. Both teams dropped a body, but Goldman and Justin Rabikoff powered down their side. Shear and Mantoni made it interesting, and the game was tied yet again.
No penalty, but Rabbitop does get shot. It's a one-on-one, but then one-on-one, but Trevor Reeser's going to win himself a point.
Save the day.
Then Shear saved Revo in the last seconds in relegation, as Impact almost stole the win. It went into overtime. Revo went on the offensive, beating Impact up the field and getting into better positions in overtime. Zuba launched to bunker out Goldman, but he couldn't get there before taking hits. It was 4-on-4 in anyone's game until a penalty killed Impact's chances.
Terrible death for Zuba.
Terrible death for Zuba there.
Oh my God, but great job by Goldman to stay alive. This is
Tech Mouse running referee on JC over there in the corner.
And he's going to pull him out, but it looks like, and they're going to lose the ball as well too, and a flag, and that's just Goldman. I think this might seal up the win. Can Goldman pull off a 4-on-1? I don't know. Jarula's going to dunk on him, and that is going to do it.
Revo moved on to battle Houston Heat in the quarterfinals. With the come-from-behind victory, everyone was wondering if they had the depth and the ability to take down 2 Titans in a row in Chicago.
Like I said, right after I watched all our games when I got home, that was one of Impact's worst performances and some of the best that I've seen some of those teams play that beat us.
The Los Angeles Ironman and Seattle Uprising would also battle in the wildcard round. For both teams, this would be their first appearance on Sunday in 2021. In the prelims, Uprising got off to a rough start on Friday, dropping to both Energy Elite and LA Infamous, but they surged on Saturday, defeating Thunder and New York Extreme. Uprising's core has been playing together for years, and though they've beat top teams in the past, they were well overdue for a solid finish. After the Ironman's Las Vegas win in early 2020, the long COVID break upturned their forward trajectory. It had a series of disappointing finishes since then, but their roster still contained enough firepower to contend.
Going into Sunday, we felt confident. We had practiced Uprising. They came out here to practice us, and of course that's who we end up playing on Sunday, right? So we already had a feel for what they were doing, but they also had a feel for what we were doing.
Uprising got off to a great start, attacking the Snake with a patient but aggressive Tommy Tucker, while they shot bodies on the break and controlled zones, taking a 2-0 lead.
We came out so flat on Sunday. Remember, there was like 2 or 3 points, I think, where it felt good. And you are not going to win a match on Sunday, let alone win the tournament on Sunday, if that's how you're playing.
Tommy Tucker goes through, gets caught.
Yeah, pulls out Silos. Beautiful job. So Tucker with a 2-pack here.
The Ironman answered in point number 3, as Nick Sloviak broke it open with a big run-through in the center of the field.
Tommy Tucker comes over the top, tries to get a shot on Nick. Nick makes an amazing move forward.
Going to get Tucker untouched. Nick's going to come through, get 2, and then gets blasted, but at least just 1 body left alive.
In the next point, both teams dropped bodies early in the chaos, but a penalty on veteran Al Fernandez sealed the point for Uprising, and they were back up by 2. So far, Uprising had been able to contain the Ironman Snake attacker Silos Cortez, but in the next point, he finally broke out and helped the Ironman get 1 back.
Silos has taken his game to a completely other level. I mean, he's probably putting in more work than anybody on the team right now. Whether it's on or off the field, he's in it. And it's honestly cool to see, and it's been awesome to see him, I feel like, reach that next level. Because he's playing better paintball now than I think I've ever seen him play.
At this point, it was anyone's game, 3-2 with 6 minutes and 45 seconds left. But Uprising continued to play the first aggressor. Tucker continued to impress in the Snake, and both Alexander Borromeo and Nick Ormrod had big moments to save points.
We're past the 50-yard line there on your screen as we hit the 5-minute mark. Uprising trying to increase their lead to 2, and it looked like they should be able to do it.
We would even call out. We knew Tucker was going to the 50 Snake. He was going to look inside and shoot at the can, and I mean, he did that every single point. We couldn't stop him. And then Joel Eaton actually played really good up the Dorito side. I was doing really well coming out and shooting the Dorito 1 guy off break. And I swear, he was faster than anybody going in that Dorito. I would come out and I would see his feet sliding into it, and like, well, shit, Dorito 1's hot.
Big move by Ormrod. Oh, and Ormrod untouched. This is an awesome job by Ormrod, and then they get the kill crossfield as well too. So.
I mean, we rattled off a couple points at the end when we were pushing, but I mean, they pretty much had our number the whole time. They were in control the whole time, and you could tell, and they felt it.
Uprising sent the Ironman home with another disappointing finish, and they moved on to the quarterfinals to play Los Angeles Infamous. Columbus Level showed a slice of what they could bring to the Pro League when they beat Heat in their last game at the Mid-Atlantic Major. Though they beat the superstar squad who ended up taking the win, they were still 1-7 through 8 games and sitting dead last.
If I'm going to quit playing pro paintball, I'm going to do it on my terms. I'm not going to be asked to leave. I'm not going to be told to leave. I'm not going to be forced out. I'm not going to be relegated. And I think leading into Chicago, like, there was a very defensive attitude. Like, hey man, I'm not as bad as those standings and those scores say I am. Like, yeah, okay, I'm not the best in the world, but I'm not that bad. And there was a lot of that attitude for Chicago.
No one thought that they would come out guns blazing and roll right through their prelim bracket undefeated, but that's exactly what they did, rolling through Damage and the Outlaws, beating Revo and Impact by 1 point to emerge as the first seed. Heading into the third event, they needed to make Sunday in order to keep relegation back down to the semi-pro division off the table. They played like men motivated by disaster on the horizon, and they played the best paintball we've ever seen them play.
Hitting that buzzer, Danny getting up there, hitting that buzzer, winning 4-0 was huge. That was one of those things that just showed us that we belong here. We're here to stay, and we're here to work as hard as we can until we're considered and respected as one of the top teams in the division, because we're here to prove that.
Of the top, 3 or 4 teams in the world, X Factor was like the last one that we hadn't played and beat yet. Going up against them in our first Sunday was kind of appropriate.
X Factor wanted a better result here in Chicago. For a team of this caliber, 7th and 9th place at the start of the year was unsatisfactory. They had a stumble in the prelims, getting mercy ruled by Houston Heat in their second game, but they won their other 3 matches in convincing fashion. They also had a few new players to add to the mix, bringing in some new firepower with the addition of D-side attacker Anthony Bowles and Sean Salcedo, who would help Billy Bernacci handle duties in the Snake.
Going into the X Factor game, right after we win on Revo, we're on a high, and we didn't expect to go 4-0. We're always working towards that, and we finally achieved it. But going into the X Factor match, we had hit such a high that the balloon had inflated. We couldn't let anything leak out. We couldn't let any gas, leak out of that balloon, or it was just gonna all go.
Columbus level did look amazing in the prelims, but their match against San Antonio X Factor in the quarters brought them back down to earth and initiated them into the brutal and sobering reality that is the hardest paintball test in the world.
The first point against X Factor, we get a double Ricky. We kill 2 off the break on the right side, and I think we got a little too antsy. We moved out of position, we lost Archie, he gets into the Snake, and then all of a sudden someone starts calling Dorito 1. So we kill 2, 3 bodies on the Dorito side. Okay, we're gravy, let's roll this game.
We're on the field, but here comes a big move as Levels had enough of Archie.
Came down to a 1-on-1 between Meter Ninos and Sam Silberg, but Meter made the most of a big bite, and he caught Silberg trying to adjust.
Meter with a huge commitment, and he does not know where the player for Level is. Oh, and he got the drop in on him, so another one-on-one victory. He's so good at those.
One-on-one gets lost, that's always up in the air. One-on-ones are always hard, especially in the pro division. And I think that kind of deflated us a little bit.
Point after point, the story was the same. X Factor in control, winning breakouts, and making better moves at the right time.
I feel like I've been watching them, studying them, like I'm talking to Robbie and hey, good job guys. And then when the stars aligned that we got to play them, I was like, it was nice because at the same time they didn't make adjustments. So this will help them by hearing this. And they knew it, they didn't make adjustments, and we knew what they were gonna do. So when they went out on the field, it wasn't really a game because we were shooting the spots they were going to, and we took away their strengths. And they didn't really study us, and we got to sit there and study them. So that's why a caliber team like us was able to pick them apart, and maybe Impact and Revo lost to them and Damage lost to them because they didn't take them as serious and they didn't study them. But I knew what Level was bringing, and I knew Level was capable. I know they have capable players in the middle, in the Snake. So I didn't go out there with disrespect towards those dudes. I respected their guns and what they were capable of, and that's why we beat them 7-0, because I respect what those guys have been doing for the last, 5-6 matches. So they're good.
Level did put up a point deep in the game to avoid the shutout, but they could not avoid the loss. But most importantly, the Sunday appearance saved their pro spot. There would now be other teams worried about relegation back down to the semi-pro division, as Columbus Level had bought themselves one more year and time to improve.
It's that discipline. I mean, at the end of the day, it's our first time making it to this level in the pro division. It's the first time making it to Sunday. And we have to learn the mental discipline that comes with playing on Sunday in the pro division. It's such a different level than any of the divisional levels I've ever played. The mental discipline is just exponentially more.
So that is going to officially do it here. X Factor with a Mercy Rule win over Columbus Level. X Factor now in the semifinals for the very first time in 2021.
The skill level, the teams across now are so much more level than it ever has been, and so much more of a level playing field. And you see that. You see Level going 4-0, making Sunday, beating Impact, right? You see Energy. Energy is a team that will just run at you constantly. They don't stop. It doesn't matter if it's a 9-7, 9-8 game. They played 18 points straight. They just keep coming at you no matter what. And I love to see that fire in a team that it doesn't matter if they win or lose, they continue to just fire constantly, and you love to see it.
Though Columbus Level stole the show in the prelims, going undefeated with big wins over top squads, Energy Elite was also able to summon the best game of their careers and to make it to their first Sunday appearance ever. They had 3 wins and a loss in the prelims, taking down Uprising by 1, Thunder by 6, New York Extreme by 2 in a high-scoring shootout, before dropping to Infamous by 1. But though they were fired up for their first Sunday battle, fate would match them up against San Diego Dynasty. Dynasty was untouchable in the prelims, with 4 wins and no losses. They also had a resharpened weapon at their disposal. Veteran Alex Frazier, one of the original Iron Kids, one of the OG Dynasty members, was playing the snake like he had found the fountain of youth. He was a motivated buzzsaw, destroying everything in his path.
We got to the tournament, and our buddy is like Axl Rose's manager, so AC/DC's in town at Chicago, and a bunch of guys go to the Guns N' Roses concert, but I have my like Zoom therapy appointment that night, so I'm like, I'm not gonna miss therapy, right? It's like we have this session, and I kind of like have a breakthrough where I learned some tools to like navigate through some trauma that I feel like was blocking me from allowing myself to succeed, and also the fear of failure. You know, there's part of me inside that like wants the other team to win. I mean, it's screwed up to say that, but you know, it's a very kind of interesting paradigm inside. And I felt like I hadn't been the guy where I was like, Rusty, put me in, I'm ready to go. I'm gonna go tear someone's head off for a while. I hadn't had paintball in so long, and I realized that that's the thing that I need in my life to be me. That's like the fabric of ties all of us together that play this game, and being able to realize its importance and treasure it, right? So I'm out there and I want to be playing, I want to be having fun, I want to be talking shit, you know, I want to bunker people, I want to make moves. I don't care if I'm not successful, I don't care if I get yelled at, I don't care if I get penalties, I'm gonna be the one making the move on my terms, and that's the attitude that I brought in. And also, you know, Chicago, that's Marcus's hometown, and that's the way Marcus played, and I'm like, I'm playing like Marcus this weekend. I don't care if I get yelled at, I'm playing like Marcus.
The prelims in Chicago was mostly easy work for the boys in blue, with Mike Urena coming into his own as an elite threat, Ryan Greenspan stealing points, Blake Yarber getting creative and aggressive up the center, and Marcelo Margot and Dalton Vanderbilt holding down the D side. It was the best that they had looked all year.
It's one of those situations where you would almost rather draw a different team because you have everything to lose. They're hungrier than ever to beat you. They're playing Dynasty Sunday morning. They're going to bring everything they have.
The game started out well for Energy Elite as they put up the first point. Alex Frazier played the aggressor, but Dynasty just lost too many bodies.
But I remember losing the first point to NRG, and for me, it's totally okay, right? And it's almost an advantage because the other team gets pumped up. They go into their pit thinking that they're doing well, but really it's the first point. Like nothing has happened yet in the match. You know, a young team going, oh yeah, we're on a roll, we're gonna keep rolling, we're going, just keep doing your thing. Actually, no, that's not gonna work the whole time.
Dynasty then railed off 3 unanswered points to take the lead, as Energy Elite was drawing penalties and losing high body situations.
Mike Urena and myself kind of split time as the one in the snake. You know, when we picked up Mike, he had that thing that you can't teach. Unbridled aggression, that just fuck you attitude that Angel Fragoza has, that Blake has, that Mouse has, that you just can't teach it.
In point number 5, it was Dynasty's turn to get a penalty and lose a high body situation. It was at a 1-point game, with a slight lead for Dynasty, the score 3-2, but there were still 8 minutes and 45 seconds left in regulation. Energy had a chance. But Dynasty only gained steam, putting up 2 more points and burning time off the clock on the back of some solid play by Dalton Vanderbilt, Ryan Greenspan, Marcelo Margot, and Arturo Andrade.
Your challenge is to not let your poise get broken, not let your experience get played. And that was the conversation heading into that game, is that we're not going to let a team win their first game on Sunday against us.
Energy still had some fight left in them as they put up a 3rd point to pull within 2. But Dynasty had done enough to hold off the up-and-coming squad, knocking Energy Elite out of their first Sunday and moving on into the semifinals. The last 2 events, Los Angeles Infamous's nemesis had been Impact, who beat them in the finals in Florida, then forced them into an 8th place finish in Philadelphia. For this Sunday battle, Impact was again on the other side of the bracket. To move forward, Infamous would need to get by the inconsistent but often deadly Uprising, who was warmed up after taking down the Ironman in the wildcard match. Infamous had a clean run through the prelims, easily beating Extreme and Uprising on Friday, and then gritting through 1-point games against Energy Elite and Thunder. The skeleton squad was deep, and the field layout was tailor-made for their brand of paintball.
Tucker's going to dig to the snake off the break, but Harrison Friesman lights out. Greg Sewers getting sweet spotted off the break.
Though Infamous was the first to drop a body, Harrison Fry won the battle on the snake side, bunkering out Tommy Tucker as Tucker was looking inside. Though Thomas Taylor then took the walk after an unsuccessful run-through attempt in the center, Infamous won gunfights to close. In the second point, Ryan Hall came blasting through the 50-yard line on the snake side to bunker out Tucker, but he drew a penalty, and Uprising closed it out to tie the game.
So here comes the counter punch from Ryan Hall. Ryan Hall dives in, and the referee's going to get in there. Ooh, got to check him out. Got to be careful not to get a penalty. We're going to see a penalty. It's going to be a minor. That's going to pull out Greg.
As they had both done all tournament long, Fry and Tucker both went into the snake again next point. Tucker ran through to trade, and both teams flooded bodies up the field in a car crash point. It came down to a 1-on-2. With just Greg Sewers left for Infamous versus Nick Ormrod and Alexander Borromeo for Uprising.
Ormrod's going to come through. Does he pinch out Greg? Greg with a tactical retreat. Ormrod does not know that he made that move. Actually, he does now. Borromeo still alive. Here comes Greg. Greg's going to come all the way around and completely rope into Ormrod. And now it's going to be a 1-on-1 here with Borromeo. What a beautiful move by Greg.
Unbelievable. Greg Sewers has no paint on his back at all.
Yeah, he's got to be really careful. And he's going gun dominant up on Borromeo. Can't see how many pods Borromeo has right now, and Borromeo is on Greg's side of the field, so Greg has to be very careful. He has to protect that buzzer.
Both out of paint.
This has got to be a snapshot battle.
Oh,
and Greg
got
Sewers with a snapshot battle on Borromeo, and he makes it count. So the last year here for Greg Sewers, and one of the last times we're going to see one of the legends in the game out here.
Sewers had given Infamous the momentum in his second-to-last event before retirement. His team made the most of their moments in the quarterfinals, and though there were some close points, Seattle Uprising was unable to put any more on the scoreboard.
And here comes Tommy Tucker. He's going to make the big move, and Thomas Taylor, a little engagement here, and Thomas Taylor is going to take over the attack for Infamous. There goes Borromeo, gets peeled off for Uprising, and then the concession to preserve the time with Infamous about to take a pretty big lead.
Uprising would head home having saved their spot in the Pro Division, though, and Infamous would advance on to the semifinals.
Yeah, so congratulations to Infamous. They're going to be punching their ticket into the semifinals, taking down Uprising, but congratulations to Uprising.
Do that shit, let's go! Together, hey, let's go,
Coming off their big redemptive win at the second event, Houston Heat was riding a high and showing off elite form in Chicago. Their first 3 games were a brutal masterclass of controlled aggression. They beat X Factor, AC Dallas, and DMG all by the mercy rule, and they took down Aftermath by 2 to go undefeated. They were a huge favorite playing Revo in the quarterfinals, as Revo was running a light line, even before their earlier wars at this event had taken their toll. The odds were slim for Revo against the juggernaut of Heat's lineup, but then again, Revo did just knock out Impact, and anything is possible on Sunday. Heat was able to put the first point on the board with a smooth but brutal display of attacking ability by Ryan Moorhead. It was a 3-on-5 low-body situation, but the veteran and previous World Cup MVP carved into Revo's line with a 4-pack of kills to take the early lead.
Trying to turn the tables here. He's going to come through and stitch up Zupa, and he's going to stay alive. Ryan Moorhead putting Houston Heat on his back to try to finish this one out. That was a magnificent point in a tough spot.
Then it was Revo's turn to prevail in a low body situation. A major penalty was thrown on Chad George as he attacked past the 50 in the snake. It came down to a one-on-one. Breakout Player of the Year Chris Shear and the original Russian All-Star Mishka Kiesnev. Shear made a clean move down the sideline to get the shot and earn the point.
That is just another beautiful job by Chris Shear in a one-on-one.
Revo put 2 more points on the board by shooting bodies on the break. They had some individual performances by Thomas Mantoni in point number 3 and Henry Sense in point 4.
And he got a shot in on Moorhead, and they're going to throw a minor penalty on Houston Heat.
Henry Sense trying to turn the tables here. Henry Sense get the kill cross field, and Revo trying to take a 2-point lead here against our favorites in this event, Houston Heat.
The game went back and forth, blow for blow, as both squads were more than willing to push forward and take risks. Heat had again pulled within 1 with just 43 seconds left. Now, they'd stolen games in the past, but this time, they couldn't shoot more than 1 Revo player in the last point. And Revo had again knocked out another big favorite by taking advantage of Heat's mistakes, creating opportunities in chaotic moments, and just playing gritty, gutsy paintball.
Heat has to find a way in the next, 43 seconds to work down the field.
Look at, they make the S1.
And they lose Tyler Harmon, who goes, and they lose Ryan Moorhead. It's not looking good. We got a running referee coming in, and Mishka gets shot as well too, and that should do it. So a noble attempt here from Houston Heat. Everyone running up the field and trying to make something happen, but just Baltimore Revo too tough today on Sunday. Man, Jesus, Revo's on a run right now. Playing now, about to go into their 4th game of the day, and it's going to be San Antonio X Factor. So this is an insane story developing here.
Let's go. Good job, Thomas. Great job. Good job, Chris. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Let's fucking go. Let's go, Derulo.
Revo had lit up the day with epic wins over Impact and Heat, but they had already been through 3 wars and their depleted roster was nearing its breaking point. Could they summon the spirit yet again and take down X Factor? The semifinal game began with both teams dropping a body early, as Mike Zupa was taken out trying to run into the snake, and X Factor lost Meter Ninos. A penalty was assessed on Matt Tarula, and the 4-on-4 quickly turned into a 3-on-1. Chris Shear was nearing his physical limit as he limped off after the point went to X Factor. In the next point, both teams went right back into the snake as Dan Zaleski crawled into snake 3, but Revo lost Mantoni. X Factor was up a body again and powering through the snake, stacking 3 bodies on that side with a game plan that had proven itself throughout the weekend. But an inverted horn had the teams restart from their stations. The point was close, and it came down to a 2-on-1. Nidios made the move on the last body with no hopper on his gun to go up 2-0.
I like to be the bad guy. You know, I like to send people home. There's a satisfaction to hearing that air bleed out of someone's tank, because you know they're just sitting there going, come on. It's like there's a word in poker, it's a German word that they use, and it's only in German, and it's, you get pleasure out of somebody else's pain. So they use that word in poker, and I get a little pleasure out of, you know, sending people home, making them sad. It's like in poker, I'm not watching the cards come out, I'm watching their face. I want to see the pain, because I feel the pain. I've been there, but now I'm on the other side, so I'd rather be dishing it than taking it.
The rest of the game played out the same, with X Factor in high body situations, and they ended up taking the win 5-1. Revo had run out of energy, and we are left to wonder that if they had their whole roster present, maybe their story would have ended differently. It was an amazing look and a loss, and a heroic performance. But X Factor, regardless of the details, would head to the finals to face down the Dragon yet again.
It's always interesting the way tournaments go, right? This team beats that team and then loses to this team. So does that mean that that team would have beat that team? Who fucking knows? But X Factor came in and put such a beating on Revo that it was like very clear that they deserved to be in the finals.
Step 3, here we go. 1, 2, 3, team squad!
So always playing Infamous, we have a long history with those guys. It's always a battle. I have nothing but respect for that team, especially this year. They've kind of had the same group of guys together for the past several years. Not all that successful early on, but now they're really blossoming, so good to see that.
Infamous got on the board in the first point. Both teams dropped bodies until it came down to a 1-on-1 between 2 specialists in this situation, Greg Sewers and Marcelo Margot.
But 2 bodies have walked off for Infamous, and a body comes off right now for Dynasty.
Greg had been playing great all weekend. He won multiple 2-on-1s. He had a bunch of 1-on-1s. Greg was really balling out. So when that first 1-on-1 developed, I knew it was Greg. I saw him and I was like, okay, let's battle. It's Sunday. It's great. And then the way he shot me, I was like, that was embarrassing. That was bad, you know?
Dynasty came right back, getting Urena into the 50 snake, where he ran through to get 2, and then Yarborough and Margot went hunting to finish and tie the game. The tightly matched teams went back and forth with the offensive threats for both squads on display on both sides, especially in the snake, where the crafty, aggressive players like Infamous's Harrison Fry and Dynasty's Alex Frazier had been thriving all weekend long.
Harrison Fry is one of their huge weapons. I mean, the way I like to look at him is he's kind of like a more aggressive Tyler Harmon. Really squirrely, can get into a little ball even though he's tall. He can stand up and get those good angles, but he plays with like a little bit more reckless abandon. He's less careful, and that's something that you have to worry about more.
It was then 3-2. Dynasty had a slight lead in what would prove to be the key point. Urena and Fry both got into the snake as both teams dropped a body early. Fry took out Urena, but then Greenspan saved the side by shooting Fry as Fry was overexposed. Greenspan then made a big move up the center to trade out with Callie Rudolph. After the scramble, it came down to yet another 1-on-1 with Sewers and Margot, but this time it was Margot who took the win. It would prove to be the key moment because the lead would hold, though Infamous did threaten.
So leading up to Chicago, a big thing for Dynasty as a franchise and Dynasty as a team, and we brought Blake and Marcelo in as partners. These are guys that we don't just trust on the field, like we trust these guys to continue the Dynasty legacy, and we also trust that these guys are, as long as they're playing paintball, are going to be key contributors for us, for the team on and off the field. Blake really has only played pro with Dynasty, and Marcelo has been on a lot of great pro teams, but has spent now, most of his years with Dynasty and has been a key contributor. It was a big deal, I think, for them to get that recognition. I mean, they deserved recognition for being Dynasty guys. And I feel like Blake and Marcelo played like they had just been given this big piece and they were like, fuck yeah, thank you. Now we're gonna show you why we deserve this.
Player here thinks Blake is stuck at the back center and he's going to get diced up by Callie Rudolph. They scored one in enough time. 2 minutes left, right around just under 2 minutes to go. And
it was just that type of match, just kind of dirty and grimy and just the way a Dynasty Infamous match should be. Nothing but good things to say about Travis and Callie and Cody and the guys that are kind of leading that charge, and even Thomas, who's really putting up some great performances, even though he's on another team and I don't want him to win. I'm like, yeah, Thomas. You get it. And we're like mortal enemies. Me and Thomas, our whole careers have been smashing each other in the snake, and he's been cheating me this whole time. So, love you, Thomas.
I'm like, he just stayed in his bunker with him. No one was even looking for his spot to see him.
It was Dynasty and X Factor battling in the finals, a rematch from the NXL World Cup 2020 finale. If we count the last 2 games that these teams had played against each other, the score would be dead even.
When we play X Factor, I feel like we've already both won in a way if we're playing them in the finals, because I view them as one of the good guys of paintball. I see Dynasty in the X Factor. When I see them win, when they went on that run in 2019, I'm like, yes, for X Factor. It's like a group of guys that have been together. Alex Martinez at the helm. It's kind of like a grassroots. They're the boys from Texas, and we're the boys from San Diego. I like that battle.
X Factor had breezed their way through 2 Sunday matches, only letting their opponents put up 2 points total. Dynasty had a harder road, but they were both playing with something to prove, as both of these teams did not start the year at the top, which is the only place that these 2 legendary franchises were built to seek.
And on the D side, getting into D2 with Jesse Stevens, Sean Salcedo getting into Snake 1 immediately here. So Dynasty going with a little bit more conservative breakout to start things out here, Ridge. 5 bodies alive, looking for them to reposition. Here comes Blake. He's been so creative up that center of the field, but they're going to be losing Dalton, Vanderbilt.
It was all Dynasty in the beginning. They put up the first 2 points with Blake Yarber as the bruiser in the center, while shooting bodies on the break and controlling zones.
So strategically, I feel like we had been pretty predictable up until that point, and Skinny knew that, so he did different things. He's like, you're not going to the snake this time. First point, I went to the corner and just shot inside, and we melted him.
Then Archie Montemayor almost put one on the board, but he caught a ball early during his move up the middle, and the hidden hit cost X Factor a point.
And it was such a weird hit. Like, I've watched the film over and over. I don't know if it was old or what. Like, it's a pretty weird spot, but the cards fell in our favor for them not to be able to put a point on the board there, keep it 2-0.
And at that moment where there can be like a little bit of a turning of the tides where you're like, oh shit, is this, like, do we need to rise to another level? Archie gets that penalty and has the dirty hang. And I feel like that was a huge deflator. And for us, it was like kind of dodged a bullet and we're able to just kind of keep going forward.
It does take the wind out of your sails. We're down 2-0. We're winning the breakouts. It's not going our way. We win a point, and then it's like, no, you don't get it. You're like, so that hurts. It takes the wind out of your sails, and then now players feel a little flustered and a little frustrated, so maybe they've forced the issue. Now Dynasty's more comfortable. Now they're talking more, sitting more on their guns, and now we're playing more into it. Now we give them another body, and then we try to speed the pace up, and we start to panic. And when you start to panic, you start to rush decisions, and it really seemed like from that moment, it just kind of unwound.
But it didn't cost them the momentum, as they pulled within 1 point in the next one, as they clocked in and won some gunfights. But after that, Dynasty started to pull away. We're shooting bodies on the break again, while Alex Frazier was wrecking people in the snake, and Blake was punching up the center.
You're not really paying attention to like the vibe of the match a lot of the time. You're just focused on your job, and you want to go out there and be brand new and fresh every time and just try to be in that moment and win that point.
To that 50 Dorito there.
Yeah, Dalton's, but here comes Blake's about to drop the hammer in the center.
The score was 4-1 with 8 minutes and 5 seconds left, and X Factor had plenty of time to come back. The next point devolved into a bloodbath. But Montemayor made a big move up the center. Greenspan was able to get a ball on Archie, but he couldn't stay alive. And then Sean Salcedo traded out with Alex Frazier. Meter Ninos made it through the chaos to hit the buzzer and pull the game back to a 2-point spread.
That does allow Meter Ninos to slip through the D side to stay alive.
Staying alive and winning that point.
Again, X Factor has some work to do. They're going to be down by 2. You're not going to win a tournament without contributions from all of your roster, especially starting 5 or 6, 7. Salcedo's still alive. He's at the crucial 50-yard line spot. They're on your screen.
Salcedo comes around, trades out with Blake Yarborough.
But Dynasty again took off. All of that, they were getting contributions from the whole squad. Mike Urena and Alex Frazier were lethal in the snake as they traded spins. Blake Yarber's creative aggression was a threat everyone needed to respect. And Dalton Vanderbilt and Marcelo Margot were the elite combo on a potent D side. And then you add in veteran Ryan Greenspan, who will play anywhere and is always down to go to war. And you have a scary team. X Factor didn't go quietly, but they never had a lead or really an answer for Dynasty's level of polished play.
It felt like by the end of that match, X Factor was kind of like, throw their hands up, like, we've tried it. We showed you our whole bag of tricks. Like, not enough of it worked. That's it. Congrats, I mean, that's what it felt like.
60 seconds.
It will be the last point scored.
Let's go.
So we're going to finish it off. Congratulations to San Diego Dynasty. And I mean, the votes are in. I got to check in with Skinny, but I feel that Alex Frazier is going to get my vote. He got my vote to start with. We had to talk about Blake, though, because Blake played so great. But I think that 2-pack kind of sealed the deal there for Alex Frazier.
Again, it was like just completely unleashed. And to watch Alex go out there and it's like he's had a chip on his shoulder all year, and I love it. I love to see it because he has fired up the team. He's the guy giving the speech. He's the guy in the huddle. he's the guy that we're looking to right now, saying like, this is Alex Frazier, look how much he wants it. You know, this is a legend that is doing this for the organization. For him to go out there and play with that freedom that he played with and that spirit that he played with, it was really special.
Win, baby. Win, baby. Woo! Come on. Woo!
See, it's so easy to root for a guy like Frage because the guy has been in it since day one, and you have to pay your respects when there's a veteran still doing it, and he's still competitive, and he can play just as good as one of the best. So that was cool to watch. I mean, he was really putting it together masterfully.
Huge shout out to all the paintball moms and wives and children and everyone out there that's letting us go and be kids on the weekend, because you know, it means a lot to us, and that's really what's going on here. I'm almost a 40-year-old man, and I get to go act like a 16-year-old on the weekend running around. Yeah, here it is right there. Play like a kid. So that is a fact. Do it. You can be an old man, you can be 70. Go play like a kid.
Next up, World Cup, the biggest and most important event of the year. With how everything shook out in Chicago, the top 4 teams all had a shot at the NXL Series title. It was the tightest race that Pro Paintball had seen in years. But could Dynasty keep it up and repeat as world champs? No one knew it yet at the time, but if they could win 2 events in a row, and 3 events out of the last 5, 21 years into their pro journey, maybe they would undeniably cement themselves in history as the best team ever to play the game. We would find out in Orlando, and on the last episode of 4 Sundays.